Can I just say, I truly feel bad for anyone who's been sleeping on Dr. Stone, pretty much since the show started with episode 1 of season 1, but even more so with this latest episode. What are we at? Season 3, episode 19 overall? Just absolutely been an incredible ride. Not only did we just experience, I think, the most engaging fight that Dr. Stone has seen, because rather than Dr. Stone going about fights in the traditional sense, some characters do brute force their way through a Stone Age world, but a character like Senku, who basically Bill Nye's the science guys his way through the world and uses the power of science and observation, we end up with something that just is truly remarkable. The villain Ibara, easily the best villain we've seen in this show, incredibly intimidating, wasn't just all talk, like he really did push our shit in. But most importantly, it feels like Dr. Stone always makes sense. There's only one little thing, maybe two things, about the show that's a little more like out of like, you have to understand it's anime. One is some characters, like they may have physical traits like they jump higher than humans actually can, or they can hear better than humans can. Who cares? We're watching anime, it's not all gonna line up to our own version of humanity. But the biggest thing that you always have to remember, and this is an anime thing in general, is time makes no sense. 5 seconds in the world of Dr. Stone could literally be 5 minutes of us watching an anime scene and the characters talking. But I grew up watching enough battle series where characters would stand around talking for apparently 10 seconds and it'd be 18 minutes of an episode. So this is all not new to me. Does it bother me? Not really, but it is kind of funny to joke about when they're like 5 seconds and you're like, you sure about that, buddy? But the thing that needs to make sense is the way they deal with things. I thought last week they lined up and it just like, the idea of the beam passing through and it was the poses, so it just saved. No, it was way more interesting. Instead of just going a simple way, Dr. Stone said, hey, how about we calculate the time and the distance of everything happening so Senku can throw that bad boy up? Because if he just sticks his finger or a hand in the revival fluid, at the end of the day, it's probably not going to work. You can't gamble. So have it be so as he's being petrified, the juice falls on him and everything works out. It is so clever. This author I literally think is a genius, and this team that continues to adapt it with such passion continues to make Dr. Stone one of the best anime you can watch no matter what season it's airing in, which says a hell of a lot given how absolutely packed and just full of quality Fall 23 actually is. But full live reaction to today's wonderful episode over on my Patreon. If you would like to see that, head on over there because they're supporting. This show has been an absolute blast to follow. I'm glad we still have a few episodes left to go with this season, and I think, something that I've been saying over the past couple of episodes is just like, it's interesting how similar to the beginning of Dr. Stone, what this island has done, because the idea of turning people, especially that quickly, all back into stone, it's a very frightening moment, and we actually have a level of fear of people, when initially the blast is going off in the middle of the island. Some of them are like legitimately terrified. They're like, oh my god, like this is the end. Because imagine being saved or knowing what this can do and then it's all coming back. It's literally world ending, and it's honestly worse than the first time it happened, because at least with the first time it happened, it's all new, it's fresh, but you're like, okay, it's the beginning of a show. This time it's like, look at how quickly it can all be ripped away. But I love how quickly the morale can go up if someone feels like they have a plan, that if we keep Senku safe, it's all gonna be okay. And it was so interesting seeing the plan, because the initial plan was good. I did make a mistake last week. It would have worked in terms of the communication if it was closer, but at the end of the day, it was a good attempt for a first go around. And then the idea of the self-driving car just, hit and run. I mean, Senku doing a hit and run was pretty fantastic. And he definitely got me shook when he got stabbed. I thought that was like his side or something. I was really happy it was just his arm. The chase, like at one point it feels like Ibara is going after Senku as if he's the slasher in a horror flick, and Senku is the final girl running for his life. And it was kind of hilarious, if not freaky. And it's just really cool. I think one of the things that's always interesting about Dr. Stone is you never know if a character's action is going to lead to something bigger. And I think one of the best examples is when Senku was throwing things at Ibara. So what ended up happening was, as he's running through the little foresty woods area, he throws 2 bottles of something, and then Ibara kind of like hits it, and like one hits the tree. I was like, oh, like he was trying to burn him, right? And Senku even says to himself, I don't even think he says it out loud, he was like, I'm running out of things to basically attack him with or try to use science against him. But what ended up actually happening was when he hit it, it then hit our captain, and our captain was then setting up for the drone. Did not see that coming in the slightest, because I think what's interesting, whether it was the initial petrification beam and what I thought was happening to save Senku, or in the case of Senku bringing him to the cliffside, there's a lot of wind, so when he activates like the 5 meter, 5 seconds, whatever he's doing, it kind of looked like the Medusa was being blown back to Ibara. So I was like, oh, Senku was like calculating the wind or like the time between breezes and stuff like that. I was like, that actually makes sense. But in hindsight, no, it doesn't. Like, Senku's not a gambler. He's not going to gamble on something that can't be guaranteed. And wind and everything, it's not going to always stick around the exact same way. So the idea that basically reviving our man who can literally control the drone gets the earpiece not only to communicate with Senku, but then that earpiece can come in clutch as a backup plan if someone has to grab the Medusa in order to be kind of like a self-sacrifice. Just everything about that was 10 out of 10. It just felt like, you know, for so many people who I would see over the weeks, not really necessarily this core, but especially core 1 of season 3, and I saw it a lot in season 2, a lot of smack talk on the production of Dr. Stone. Not saying Dr. Stone is always the best looking show of any given week, but I think Dr. Stone has a very unique identity. I'll die on that hill. But this season, I mean, the facial expression, like Ibara alone as expression is enough to make this a good looking season. This man is intimidating. The amount of like muscles that are moving on this demon's face is enough to be like, damn, that don't feel like no draw. That feels like a creepy ass real person who you don't want to see in a dark alley. And just honestly, man, the Medusa's light. Honestly, I'm kind of impressed that the initial glow of petrification doesn't look worse than it does, because it's kind of different if you do it once in a show and maybe only have to do it maybe in one other time. But there's been a lot of times the Medusa's activated and it always looks intimidating, it always looks otherworldly, it always looks like exactly what it should. And I think these are the types of moments that really feel enhanced from a manga. Now, I haven't read the Dr. Stone manga, but there has been plenty of moments that I went and looked at specific like panels and stuff from episodes, and the petrification stuff is stuff that I have compared, and I just really like how the anime has done it, especially with the voice actors. I mean, the voice actors absolutely half the time are feeling like they know their life is about to be ripped away. And I think ending this episode on such a W, but also having Senku be so alone, I mean, this is a trip down memory lane. This is him feeling like, once again, I'm alone. And then to have that phone call come in from the island back home in the Kingdom of Science, the fact that he can just feel like, you know what, I'm not alone. Yeah, it's a lot of work. He has a lot of work to get everyone back up to speed, but we won. The only thing Senku needs to do now is to kick Ibara's head off. He is the best villain. And if he somehow came back, I wouldn't be complaining. But this man has caused such a ruckus, smash him into a million pieces and throw his ass on the ocean floor. He does not deserve redemption. But whatever they decide to do, I'm going to end up liking, because Dr. Stone just makes for an exciting ride. But that's all from me. Let me know what you thought of this week's Dr. Stone episode. Ibara vs. Senku definitely lived up to my expectations, if not surpassed them. But let me know what you're feeling down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course, ring that bell. Like I mentioned, we have full live reactions over on my Patreon, and hey, while you're there, you also get a video shout out. Alright, so today we have Zeno, Scott Raymond, Yuki Ali, Slippers, Aloon, Pranay Sumshwar, Darian Smith, JJR10, Monty 7, Buanake, Monica Luzuria, Kyle Kowachuk, Alton Johnson, and we have George. So I appreciate the support. So please take care and have a good one.